here we are with Mr. Jesse Ospina. I'm doing this interview on behalf of Alexandra Leon, Lisette Sarid, and myself, Angela Garcia, for the course of Estudios Culturales Sociohumanísticos, Guide 3, for the University M. So, hello, Mr. Ospina. Thank you, first of all, for agreeing to meet with me. Mr. Jesse Ospina is an American diplomat. He works for the American Embassy here in Madrid, Spain, and he works in the management section as the GSO, or the coordinator of logistics, right? So, thank you for answering these questions and for speaking about your organization. So let's get started. My first question is, keeping in mind the importance of a true leader in an organization like yours, what characteristics do you consider essential in a good leader?
Well, first of all, thank you, Angela, for being here. I'm always very happy to share a little bit about my job and to answer your questions. I think a good leader is someone who leads by example. And what do I mean by that? It's someone who follows the rules and expects others to do so. A good leader should be able to explain what he or she wants. They should be able to make strong decisions and understand the value of each member of the group or team, and be able to appreciate their input whenever doing a project or coming up with that decision. Their contributions are just as valuable as every other member of the group.
So now that you talk about that, about the members of the group, do you know that now job satisfaction has become more and more important in recent years in different fields? So this is due in part to the direct correlation between job satisfaction and productivity. There is a huge relation. So do you keep in mind job satisfaction in your section? And if so, how do you develop this and maintain it?
Well, I think job satisfaction is extremely important, no matter what is your job. You may want to make sure that you are happy. In fact, you should always be happy trying to do your job.
Yeah.
Because if you are a happy individual, a happy worker, then that will reflect in your job, that will reflect in the productivity of your job. And if everybody's happy and everybody's happy doing their job, your productivity will go up. Now, it is very important to listen to your employees. That is one of the most important parts when making a decision. It is important to take them take time to themselves and sort of be able to decompress once in a while. So if you take a day off, which I like to call mental health days, it doesn't have to be a sick day. It's just a day where you can decompress and you can get away from the job. That will help with productivity as well.
Okay, I'm in agreement with you. But I have, well, as you work in the embassy, I know that according to the United States Foreign Service, in your job as a diplomat, you have to rotate out in your assignment and change posting, right?
Correct.
You have to change sometimes 1 or 2 or 3 years, it depends of the country. But do you think that this constant change in leadership for the local employees at the embassy or in the consulates of the United States is a cause for diminishing job satisfaction to the point that it impacts productivity in the organization?
Well, first of all, that's a great question. Yes, there is a constant moving from country to country as you move along your career. And for example, here in Madrid, it's a 3-year tour, and then we move on to another place. So it does affect you and your family, but it also affects the local employees that stay behind after the employee and their families have moved on. And what happens is there's a sense from the local employees that the supervisor does not care about them. And it often happens that the local employee, if they're having an issue with the supervisor, will think, I'll just worry about it later because my supervisor is moving on to a new place soon, and I'll deal with the new supervisor. So sometimes there is a lack of lower morale, and there's a lack of understanding that this affects everyone, and you need to deal with that before it actually starts impacting productivity.
Okay, I understand. It must be really hard for employees and even for the diplomats, you know?
Oh,
those
it
changes.
is, absolutely, and you start from scratch with each new supervisor. So you have only 2 or 3 years to build up to having a good rapport with this person, and then they leave.
And I guess sometimes you can see that employees are not so happy with the last supervisor, and they are with the model already very down, so you have to try to change that when you take your
You have to build that morale first before you can actually become more productive.
Right. Well, I'm going to change a little bit the subject, and we're going to talk a little bit about the conflict, okay? So when your employees experience high levels of conflict because they have a lower level of job satisfaction and overall output is lower, keeping in mind that group and individual conflicts are part of all organizations, is normal, is part of the humans' relationships. How do you deal with these conflicts in your section when there is high levels of conflict?
Well, you are correct. Whenever there are high levels of stress in any kind of situation, you're going to have lower productivity. There are issues between the members of a team, and this will lead to conflict, and then this will lead to lower productivity. It's just a matter of fact. This happens. So what I like to do normally is have the employees involved, the parties involved, deal with this on their own first before they bring in the supervisor.
Okay.
Bringing in the supervisor a lot of times can create even more of an issue. So if they work it out first, great. If they can't, then I come in and I try to have the parties together and listen to both sides or all parties involved and try to come up with a solution to the issues. But I also like to have everybody involved try to come up with a solution as I am there and present, so that we can be happy with whatever the decision is, and so that everybody's comfortable with whatever decision comes down.
So they have to try to solve their problems on their own as a first step.
Exactly.
Because this is a way maybe to teach them that they can resolve their problems.
Gives them a little autonomy too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like that part of autonomy.
Mhm.
And if there is not an agreement, so they can, as a second step, come to you and try to resolve.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I want to keep talking about the groups and teams. So participating in a group or team is very satisfactory. I mean,
Yes, it is.
you might know because you work with a lot of people
Yeah,
around
yeah.
you. But if all the members do not share the same predetermined values, which is very important in an organization, as motivation, and motivation can become negative, so working in a group or team is normally seen as a good thing. But what do you think as a leader? Consider key is the creation of team or groups in your section, and how does this influence your results?
Well, first of all, whenever I have a project in mind, or there's something that needs to get done, and I look at my team, I look at the members of my section, I look to see who has what talent, what skills they can bring to the table. And then when I'm forming the groups, then I try to put those people that will complement each other to resolve the problem or the issue. And this is obviously something that works really well. When you have a team where all members complement each other, and this will help productivity, this will help the team to work better together and eventually resolve the issue.
Okay. One more question, and it's going to be the last one.
Oh, sure.
It's going to talk about empowerment. Empowerment is considered a fundamental piece to make employee feel they are part of organization, which is also very important to feel part as if they were your family, this organization. So what do you think, what strategies do you use to ensure the participation of all employees?
Well, you're right. It's very important to have all members of the team feel that they have a say, feel that they have that they're part of the decision making, that they have a say in what happens with their career, what happens when you are working on a project. It's just human nature to feel like you have some control over your day-to-day operations, over your life. So this is very important, having meetings every morning or every week where everybody gets to say what's going on, how they would deal with the situation, what's the best plan forward. This is something that has worked really well for me. Another thing that works is when you have once a year or twice a year, you have a leadership day where you go and you do an offsite somewhere outside of a work environment. And it's a day where you do exercises, where you do, you work together to solve problems outside of a work environment. And this helps to have better ties among the employees, away from the pressures of the job.
Okay, so let's say that these are like courses, like...
Yeah, in fact, there are companies that specialize in doing that sort of work, where you will hire them to do a leadership day for you, and they come up, depending on what kind of job you do, what your organization does, they will tailor that leadership day to fit your needs.
Okay, so basically it's something to become a better leader, a better employee.
Exactly.
And doing this is a way to have better productivity and to have a better moral in the organization.
Yeah, and it's actually fun because
Yeah.
it's outside of the job, and it's a different location. Maybe sometimes it's out in the woods or it's in a resort.
Oh, nice.
So you're more relaxed, and so you enjoy yourself, and at the same time you learn.
So motivation is better.
It's key, and it's very important. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So, Mr. Ospina, thank you so much. I do really appreciate for answering these questions. That said, thank you everyone for listening, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. It's been a pleasure.